What's up, y'all? Welcome to Sports Spectrum. I'm Matt Forte here with my guy, Jason Romano. And Jason, I'm excited to talk to Coach Dabo Swinney of the
Yeah.
Clemson Tigers, man, a legendary coach in the NCAA, but also an even better person. Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So first, I guess the first thing I want to know too, maybe a lot of people who know you better, they know this already, is how'd you get the name Dabo? It's a unique name. I thought Forte was unique because I don't hear it or see it that much, but Dabo is a very unique name.
Yeah. So, baby of three boys, and grew up in Alabama. But my middle brother was 17 months older. So when I was born, even before I was born, he was just still a baby, and so he would just always say that boy, and he would say Dabo out of a baby's mouth. It was Dabo, 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 and so I guess my parents, I guess it was 1969. I don't know what they were doing in life. But, I guess they went, yeah, Dabo, we like that, and so I've been Dabo my entire life.
Oh man, that's an awesome backstory to that. I love that because I'm from down south too. I'm from South Louisiana, and
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. That boy, and it's that boy. They trying to say that boy, but it's
Yeah.
it's so funny when you hear kids at a high school football game or something like that. Who's that boy on the field?
Well, I would sometimes people would ask me, so how did you get your name growing up in life? And I'd say, I'm Cajun, Dabux. I would tell them that, Dabo. But a crazy thing
Yeah.
to me later on in life, oh man, I was 38, and I just gotten the job here at Clemson, and I did my first speaking engagement as the head coach of Clemson. And I go to, and I'm sit down at this banquet, and I'm sitting there, and this lady comes up to me, and she says, "Hey, do you know what your name means in Latin?" And my exact response to her was, "My name is a word." Uh, she said, "Yes," and she seemed surprised. I went, "No, I have no idea." She goes, "Well, your name Dabo, Dabo, means I will give." And I'm like, "Really?" And I wrote that down on a little note card. I was like, "Wow, that's mad. Never heard that." Looked it up. I'm like, "Well, son of a gun, my name is a word." And so fast forward, uh, over in Italy and Rome, the Vatican, in the cathedral there, they have all of this, the Latin sayings and sentences and stuff. And sure enough, boom, there's Dabo right there in the Vatican. So
Wow.
that's one of the greatest moments of my life. Was getting a picture of that. And I mean, listen, you grow up with a name like Dabo, you're going to get some ridicule over the years. So I sent that to a lot of my buddies. I'm like, yeah, I didn't see Michael or Steve or Tony. I didn't see any of y'all in the Vatican, but hey, I made the Vatican, man.
Yeah. All those jokes that you guys try to play with me, I'm written in the Vatican. You guys can't say anything. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, speaking of that, even to piggyback off of the meaning, the Latin meaning of it, to give as a coach, you have to give a lot of your time, a lot of yourself, especially to have a successful program. It's more than just coaching. It's a calling. I wanted to ask you, when did you realize that coaching really was a calling on your life, and how to balance that time with the family as well as what you give to your players? Because it's more than just players that come into your office as young men.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm probably not the typical story as far as a coach, because honestly, I never thought about coaching a day in my life. I never dreamed to coach. I just, man, I just wanted to play as long as I could play, and then I was like, well, I got to go and get a job, and so first college graduate, my family, and I just crazy thing happened for me. Um, so we won the national championship my senior year at Alabama, and that spring, I was finishing up my degree. I was graduating in May. I was working at a hospital doing my internship, and I had a job lined up in June, going to get married, and ready to kind of move on with life. And um, I just went out to spring practice, to kind of see my buds. Right, I'm still in town and finishing up school, and my head coach was a guy named Gene Stallings, and my position coach was Woody McCorby, who's on my staff to this day. And just went out there, and honestly, it's the first time I'd never been a part of a team, and since I was 4 years old, and I just out there watching practice, and next thing I know, Coach McCorvey and Coach Stallings are over there, and they're like, Coach was like, hey, look, we need a GA. You need to get a master's degree. And I'm like, oh no, I don't need a master's degree. I'm from school. I got to go get a job. And next thing you know, it's like, no, you need a master's degree, and I need a GA, and you start in July. And so that's how I got into coaching. And I said, well, okay. Finally, I rationalized. I said, all right, I'll get my MBA, and that'll probably, keep me from having to go back to school later. I was thinking I was going to maybe go run a hospital or something. And so within a week of being a graduate assistant, that's when I realized the calling on my life. It was almost like clarity of life. All of a sudden, I realized that, I love to compete. I've never been a part of team, and I've always loved being a team. I love structure. I've always loved the discipline and the grind and all that stuff. But I realized early on, right then, that God had really equipped me to coach. And a lot of things that I went through in my life early on, especially, all of a sudden it was like that moment of clarity for me in life. Like, okay, I understand. Like, God was equipping me to become a coach. And even though, and it was never anything that I dreamed about, but I always tell people, if you're seeking God's guidance for your life, He'll order your steps. He'll close the right doors, open the right doors, put the right people in your path. And so that's what happened to me. And then getting into coaching, I really didn't know anything else, because I went straight from playing a GA 3 years. Then they hired me full time at 26. So then I'm full time coach at Alabama, and I do that all the way through 2000. The head coach gets fired, new coach comes in, doesn't keep anybody. So didn't get a job. And then in those days, you didn't have big staffs. And so if you didn't get hired like between December and February, you were out. And so I was out. One season turned into 2 seasons. And so I got out of coaching 01-02 and got into the real estate development world. But I just, I knew what God's calling for me was. But I wanted it to be His will. And I was very prayerful about that every day, that He would open the right door. But to the rest of your question, you get into coaching, I didn't really know anything different. And then I got out of coaching, and I was, 9 to 4:30. I was home on the weekend. I had a lot of time, but there was this huge void in my life. And I just felt like that God had a deeper purpose for my life and with what He wanted me to do. But those 18 months were so formidable. I mean, they shaped me, to be even better prepared. And when I got called back to coaching, and I literally got called back to coaching, Tommy Bowden called me on a Friday out of the blue and said, hey, would you be interested in getting back in coaching at Clemson? And I'm like, yeah. And so I came to Clemson in February of 03, and now this is my 23rd year here. So it's my Jordan year, man. And it's been an amazing blessing. I came here with a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. My wife and I had never lived anywhere but Alabama. Our baby was born here. And, in about 06, I kind of hit a wall. And I'll never forget it. I was down in Jacksonville, Florida recruiting. And I called home, and my wife, she's like at the game, and she's trying to video my son's T-ball game or whatever. And I just, I had this moment. I remember pulling over on the side of the road, and I was just like, I told my wife, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just felt like that because my father was not around a lot when I was growing up. And I just, I just never, I wanted to be different. And I felt like I wasn't, being a good father. And I felt like I was just, this job was bigger than my family. And I just said, you know what, Kath? I said, and at that point, I had already been successful doing something else. So I knew I could go do something else. And I said, you know what? I don't think I can do it anymore. And I said, I don't want to miss my kids' stuff. And I said, and so I got my best speech together, and I came home, and Kath was like, okay, if that's what you want to do. And so I remember I lined the boys up across the bed, and their little legs are hanging, and I'm looking like, listen, I just want y'all to know that there's nothing more important to Daddy than y'all. and I'm going to change jobs, and I'm going to get out of coaching so I can have more time with you guys. I gave them all. I gave my best speech. You know, I'm a coach of teams. I'm gonna be home at night, and I just remember then they're all looking at me like, you know, with three eyeballs. And finally, my kids, they're like, "But Daddy, if you don't coach, we won't get to know the players. And if you don't coach, we won't get to ride on the bus, and we won't get to go to practice. But Daddy, we won't get to go to a bowl game. But Dad," and all of a sudden, God started using my kids to convict me on the calling that He put on my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, my other son goes, "But Daddy, mommy videos, and we watch the videos." And all of a sudden, the things that were really bothering me, my my kids had a different perspective, and I learned a lesson in that. I tell people all the time, fathers especially, you know, I know a lot of dads who have a lot of time. You know, it's not about the quantity of time; it's the quality of time that you spend with your family, and it's making your family a part of what you do. And that really was that gave me a lot of peace. And it was God convicting me, like, listen, no, this is what I've called you to do, and you don't have to sacrifice your family for this job. You can be a great coach and a great father and a great husband, and it's the quality of your time, not the quantity of your time. And you know, so that you know, but that means, hey, when I do get some time, I can't always be gone playing golf for 5 hours. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I have to, I had to balance that, and so I created a lot of balance. And then, you know, as God's will would have it, I became the head coach in the middle of '08, and then I got control of the schedule. I got control, and that's why we don't have a lot of turnover here at Clemson, because I mean, we do a 13-month calendar. We plan it all out. You know, next August fall camp is already planned every day. You know,
Man.
so so everybody knows, and it creates rhythm. And because I want my coaches don't miss their kids' games, and I've made that a priority. I made it a priority for myself. I made it a priority for my staff, and we've won. So you know, we've shown that you can win at the highest level without compromising, you know, your family. And again, there's times where it just is what it is, right? But you make your families a part of it, and when you do get that time, make it quality time. Involve
Yeah.
them in everything you do.
Man, that's good. That was so good because there are so many jewels of wisdom that you dropped there too, and just some of the things that I take from it as the quality of time is that there's necessary sacrifices that we do make that comes with the game, comes with the job. We know that, but then when it's that time where you kind of have that free time to really pick and choose, there's a right way to choose, and then there's another way to choose selfishly, right? And then as a husband and a father, you do have to choose those times. Like, you know what? It'd be a good time to do a family outing or these things, and that's so great because that's I don't want to glaze over the fact that you incorporate the schedule now as the head coach to allow your assistant coaches to make their kids events and games because that's I mean, I remember being at Tulane and it was unheard of. I remember my position coach, Greg Davis Jr., his dad was, part of Greg Davis Sr., who was
Yeah,
coaching at Texas, and he was used to him not being around and like he had his little girls and he would miss them so much and things like that. And it starts to wear on you. It starts to eat at that peace that you were
yeah,
talking about that God can give you. But
yeah.
no, thanks for
Our
sharing that.
families are here. Our kids come to practice all the time. We have family night every Wednesday night. The wives. We created an environment where everybody's around. And again, you just have to be intentional with that and involve everybody. And that's just how we've always done it. And that's one of those things when you hear a lot of times people that have never been at Clemson, they don't really understand. But when they come, they're like, man, that place is different. I mean, it's
Yeah.
different, but it is different. And it's because of the intentions of the people here. And we make family a priority. That's not something we say. That's really truly something that we live. And I got 25 former players on this staff. You know,
Mm.
and when I say family, it's not just our blood face. We're family together,
Yeah.
and you know, we do life together, and we're all involved. And I mean, we take everybody. We go on these trips. I mean, we got like 87 kids, 18 years and younger. We're a fertile staff too. A lot of kids around here.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, that's such a blessing. It reminds me of the kingdom of heaven, man. Like we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, and how God has adopted us into that and what He's done. So, and speaking on that term, I wanted to ask you about your faith, obviously, and how you, as a coach, as a head coach, and as a public figure, pretty much now, when you win games, you become a public figure, and it's a big program that you run. Displaying your faith uh, on a and glorifying God on a big platform. I've had to be the blessing to be able to do that, but when it comes to coaching, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different lane, and how do you do that? And sometimes people can try to, say I have to skirt around this, or because of recruiting, or because of the school, whatnot. How does that work and how did that become a way of, like, obviously being able to glorify God, and even through your players, like not forcing it on them, but obviously saying, look, this is who I am and this is how I coach.
Yeah, and it's just that. I mean, I think people, whether they believe what you believe, people respect just you being genuine and authentic. Like, I think nobody comes to Clemson and then goes, "Wow, I didn't know Coach was a Christian." Like, like recruiting is a very personal thing. For example, you get to know people, and the last thing you want to do is for somebody to not really know who you are. It's up to them whether they align with you or whatever. My job is to coach football. That's my job, and that's what I do. But I hope that the way I do my job can glorify God, because that's my purpose. My purpose as a man is to glorify God in all that I do, to be a great husband and father, and then to use this platform of football and education to build great men. To build transformational leaders. That's my purpose in life, and we win some games doing that, great. But that's really my purpose, and we have a purpose as far as our program goes, and we try to find kids that align with that purpose, like kids that value education, want structure, want accountability, passionate about football, fit the people in the place. I mean, those are things. There's an alignment, but I believe, you know, from my faith, Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do it with all your heart, as if you're working for the Lord." That's whatever you do. It doesn't say, "Oh, except for when you're a football coach." Oh, you can't do it that you can't do it for the Lord then, as if you're working for the Lord. Or except when you're a doctor. No, that's whatever you do. You do it with all your heart, as if you're working for the Lord. And that's the perspective that God wants us all to have for whatever we do, right? Like, so
Yeah.
if that is our perspective, then whatever we do, we're doing God's work. And when you look at it that way, uh, I think it just gives you a different piece about how you go about, your job or your daily life or whatever, and hopefully it allows you to be a light to other people. And again, it's my job's not to save the kids that I get a chance to coach, but I do believe that I'll be held responsible for one day.
Hmm.
When I meet my maker, he's not going to care how many games I won. I promise you that. He's going
Yeah.
to care much more about how I serve the hearts and souls that came before me. And so, again, I just try to live my life in a way that hopefully is not bashful, as far as sharing the peace that comes from knowing Christ, what I know, what I believe. But it's I don't. It's from time to time when you're in a public position, you can get a lot of criticism for just being who you are. But I just keep my eyes on the good Lord. I just believe, and I don't quit. I mean, that's kind of my fundamentals. And I always tell people, like, we've won a lot of games around here. We haven't won all these games just because we play the best Christians. I promise you. We but again, it's important to me that hopefully my players will see something different about me that maybe inspires them to be curious. And if not, no problem. I have great relationships with all my players, and have for a long, long time. So you can't stay somewhere 23 years if you're full of crap, you
Yeah.
know, and you don't do what you say you're going to do. So I'm just I don't know how to be anybody other than me, and I really truly believe that whatever we do, we should do it with all of our heart, as if we're working for the Lord. So I just lead with my heart, and I try to I don't worry about winning championships. I worry about winning my players' hearts, because I believe if I get that right, hey, we'll win those too. But it's more important to me, if these guys come hug my neck when they're 30, that's really how I run the program.
Yeah, yeah. Purpose is way more important than performance or accolades and all these other things that essentially when we're gone won't last very long. But yeah, I think obviously a grown man that you've coached at some point, having his own family, and you've been a catalyst in his life, and him coming hug your neck and saying you were very important in my life as a man and in manhood is something that
Yeah,
money can't buy, and that also you kind of can't get it anywhere else, right? And that's something. I mean, my dad coached little league, and there's still kids that come up, or men now that come up to him and like Coach Gene, and they still call him Coach, and it's like this father figure respect type of relationship. And
yeah,
so glad that you guys have that family type community. 25 former players on staff, like that shows, turnover. I was in the NFL, turnover right there, and then with the Bears and the Jets.
yeah,
Nothing against them, but a lot of turnover with those two teams, and so speaks volumes of how you run that program. But me and Jason have been talking recently a lot about trusting God, and I wanted to go back to a conversation where you were out of football for those 2 years, and how precise God's timing is, and like He will sit you aside to teach you something or so that you can learn something from him. But in his exact timing, it's like, boom, now you're prepared to go where I want you to go. And it's hard to trust him in those
yeah,
moments because we don't know. We talked, I think a week ago about the man in Mark chapter 9. He was like, look, I believe, but help my unbelief. So
yeah.
he's like, I believe in you, but I got this doubt going because I don't know what you're doing. So I guess talk to the people who out there that maybe in a season that's dark where they're like, man, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Lord, I do believe in you, but please help me.
Yeah, yeah. I think God works on His own time for sure. And I mean, just my personal experience. I went to Alabama when I was 18, and I left when I was 31. And that, I mean, who gets to do that? I mean, it's been that was there a long time, and my dream school, my dream job, and all of a sudden, boom! Now you're gone. You got to pack up and leave, and you got 2 kids, and your contract runs out. A few months. Like, what are you going to do? And now all of a sudden you don't get a job doing what you want to do, what I'm called to do. And now hey, I mean, I got to go figure this thing out. But my faith was so strong at that time. I got saved when I was 16, and now I'm 31, and I'm living a life way different than what I was living at 16 in my family situation. And God, I just look back at all the times God had delivered me, and all the times that God, like, when I didn't see any hope or whatever, He was always there. And so why am I going to doubt now? And it says to trust in the Lord with all of our heart, to acknowledge Him, right? To not lean on our own understanding. And I think that's a hard thing for us to do, especially in those moments where, like, okay, the contract's running out here, and I got no job, and I got a mortgage, I got 2 kids, and like, what am I going to do? But hey, and it wasn't what I thought. I thought I was going to get a call to go and do, keep coaching and do what I want to do. But it was a call from someone else saying, "Hey, would you be interested in real estate development?" And I'm like, "No, I've never done that. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing." And next thing I know, I go meet with this guy, and he's like, "Well, what was your salary?" And I'm like, I told him, I said, "Well, I was making $80,000." He goes, "Well, all right, I'll pay you $80,000." And I mean, I'm like, well, I guess God's called me. I don't know. But God called me out of coaching for those 18 months to really give me a different perspective, to truly prepare me and equip me further, to give me even a deeper appreciation for the grind and all the stuff. And honestly, I just prayed. I mean, I would pray every day. I had a pretty good commute to work every day for those 18 months. And I had a void because I felt like I knew what my calling was. I knew what my passion was, but I prayed every day that it was God's will for me. And I was like, God, if it's your will, then this is what I'm, this is what I, please put me back in coaching. and take me to a place. I want to work for a man of faith. I want to be in an environment that I can raise my kids. But if it's not your will, then hey, just help me to keep, blooming where I'm planted, and help me to just, go have a great day today. And that just would give me peace. And I just give it to God. I love to say, like, we all want God to open and close doors for us, but we won't let go of the handle, right? Like we, sooner or later we got to let go of the handle, and let God open and close those doors. And when He opens those doors, you have to have the faith and courage to step through it as well. And so I just, again, my fundamentals of life have always been to keep my eyes on the Lord in the good and bad, and to believe in myself, to believe in the Word. And then when the adversity comes, don't quit. Let because if you're connected to God, the adversity will develop you. It won't define you or destroy you. It'll develop you. And that's how I've kind of always gone about my life, just basic fundamentals of life. And, it was a pivotal time for me, those 18 months, but all of a sudden, and listen, there was a couple of opportunities, and I thought I was getting back into coaching, and the door closed. And then I was like, well, I guess it's just, that's just God's, not His will for me. And then boom, when I least expected it, I wasn't looking for it. I literally had a message from the lady that would take the calls, and she had a thing, and she'd say, hey, you had a message from Tommy Bowden at Clemson University. I'm like, Coach Bowden? And call up, and he's like, listen, in his exact words, he said, would you be interested in getting back into coaching on a Friday? And I said, yes. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, how about we pray about it? I'll call you back on Sunday. And if you're still interested, maybe bring you up here next week for an interview. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it was, and it was crazy because we had built a house. We were getting ready to move in our new home, and my wife was pregnant with our third child. We're around all of our family. I'm making more money than I'd ever made, and I'm successful in this world. And I'm like, yeah, took a big pay cut, to get back into coaching. But I just, God gives us gut checks in life, but we also get faith checks. And it was almost like, okay, well, let's just see where you are in your faith, because there was a lot going on. We had a new house we had to sell. We got a baby coming. People, we're leaving all of our family to a place we've never been. And, Coach Bowden at the time was kind of on the proverbial hot seat, if you will. And, but I just knew this is what, God wanted me to do. And I think God, if you're seeking Him, God will wink at you from time to time. Like, He will. And so, and in fact, when I flew up here to interview, they picked me up at the Greenville Airport, and I've never been on coming down 85, first exit 54, Pelham Road. I'm from Pelham, Alabama. And that was like the first little dot. Like, okay. And then, so that was 03, middle of 08, I come into work one day, and they decided to make a change at head coach, and the AD walks in and says, hey, you're now the new head coach. I need to see my office in 5 minutes. And I'm thinking this is going to be, oh my God, the worst 7 weeks of my life. But instead I go in his office, and he starts telling me that, hey, I want you to be the head coach for these next 7 weeks. And and he's like, look, I believe you're what we need. And he started telling me, for the last 5.5 years, here's what I've watched you do. And he goes, I just think you're what we need. And he goes, whether you win a game or not, I'm going to give you an interview. And so all of a sudden I was empowered, like, okay, I got 7 weeks to be a head coach, and let's go. And so, fast forward, that was on a Monday. Thursday morning, about 5:30 in the morning, I was so exhausted because I hadn't slept. I mean, we're playing Georgia Tech that week, who's running the triple option. I never seen the triple option in my life. And it was Paul Johnson's first year. And it got real for me. Monday, Tuesday, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of emotion. Thursday morning, I was exhausted. All of a sudden, I was so fearful. I was doubtful. Like, you can't, I don't know if you can do this, whatever. I mean, I'm worried. Everything of the world just overwhelmed me. And I remember coming, it was dark, and I pull into the parking lot. And the night before, I had moved into the head coach's office. And so I pulled up for the first time to park at the head coach's little spot right there. And I pull around, and my lights hit the curb. And I couldn't believe it. And I just stopped, and I just put the car in park. And I literally just sat there and cried in the parking lot by myself. but it was like, so when my lights at the curb, the spot was 88, and that was my college number, and I just was like, it was like God's little moment, like where sometimes God winks at you, sometimes He puts His arms around you, and sometimes He body slams you. You know, I mean, I think God does all of those things, but that was a moment where He really put His arms around me and said, "Listen, I got you. Just walk His thing out." And I'm gonna tell you, when I got done crying and I put that car in park and got out of that car, I was I was like, look, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know God's got it.
Mm.
And I just and that was going on 17 years ago, this October. So I just think that God works on His own timing, and sometimes we go through seasons of life that maybe we have to do something that we don't want to do. But if we continue to keep our eyes on the Lord, we continue to believe, we let the adversity develop us and not define or destroy us, sooner or later, we will have clarity of God's purpose for our life.
Yeah, that's so good, man. It reminds me of John the Baptist when Jesus got baptized, and then God says, "This is my beloved Son, whom I have chosen." And even Jesus got validated by the
Yep.
Father. So there's these moments, as you're talking about, where God will validate us and like, look, I chose you for this purpose.
Yeah.
And you only get it when you're obedient, walking in His will, and then you have that little small mustard seed amount of faith to actually go do it.
Yeah.
And it's real easy to say, man, I'm comfortable. Like, I'm making more money, as you said, than I ever made. I got my wife is pregnant. That's another. I could have that excuse. We just built a new house.
Oh,
And I got the family around.
what are you doing? Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's probably
yeah,
saying that too. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing, man? We got all the family here. Like, this is comfortable. But
yeah.
actually, comfortability is like the opposite of what Jesus wants to do in our lives, really. And
Let me tell you.
his
Let me
his
tell you
yeah.
what. Let me tell you what God did with that. So that Sunday He called me back. Monday I told my boss I was going to go up and interview on Tuesday. I flew up to Greenville. They picked me up. I'm up here Tuesday, Wednesday. Fly back Thursday afternoon. I'm in the driveway of this brand new home that we had just built. We're 2 weeks from moving in it with my builder, and the phone rings and it's Tommy Bowden. And I was like, all right, if he'll pay me this, we can make it work, And it was $5,000 more than what my wife and I had talked about. And it was like, okay, like God was just like, okay, all right, let's see what you made of here. And so I take the job. I'll never forget my builder's like, he goes, are you crazy? Like, what are we doing? What are we gonna do? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll figure it out. So I take the job. I go up. I coach spring ball for like a week, and then we get out for spring break. I come back. I put a for sale by owner sign in the yard on a Friday afternoon, and I sold it on Sunday. And this is how God worked. I sold it to a family moving from South Carolina to Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm going from Birmingham to South Carolina. That like God was showing off, and
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
crazy. And that family still lives in that house, by the way.
Wow.
And they had two little boys. And the reason I know this, that the people who bought, they have two little boys, and one of them grew up to be a pastor, and he married one of my players' sisters. Is that not
Wow.
crazy? I mean,
That's crazy.
what a small world. Like God's into the details, man. Like
Yeah.
it's just crazy how things work out. And so we come up here, and I'm like, hey, I come in here to be here. We started out 5-4 that year, and we got destroyed at Wake Forest. And honestly, I don't even know that I'd ever heard of Wake Forest before I came to Clemson. Been at Alabama for 13 years, and we get destroyed. And we're 5-4, and they were probably going to make a change, but we're playing Bobby Bowden in Florida State the next week. And they're like 2 or 3 in the nation, undefeated. And it was the Bowden Bowl. So, we're not going to beat them, right? No way we're going to beat them. So they're probably going to, let's get through the game, and then they'll probably make a change after that. We upset them 27-10. So now we're 6-4. Then we smoked Duke. We're 7-4. Then we beat South Carolina 63-17. Now we're 8-4. Get the Peach Bowl and beat number 6 Tennessee. And we go 9-4. He gets Coach of the Year and gets a new 5-year contract. And the rest is history. That was in '03. The rest is history. So, but that's how God works, man.
Yeah,
Like that's how God works. And but you have to just truly not lean on your own understanding, because we get in trouble when we do that, because there's a lot of things this side of eternity we'll never understand.
that's right. That's right. His ways and his thoughts are
But,
higher than ours.
right. And just let him order our steps.
Yes, sir. Well, we running out of time. I could talk to you all day, Coach, and I appreciate you giving us some time. Last question by me is just about the upcoming season. You guys are probably either already done or finishing up camp, getting started, because college football is around the corner. And how excited are you about this season? Especially with and how's your relationship too with Cade Klubnik? I know he's a special talent there,
Yeah.
and you being the head coach, you got probably to know him the best.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a good team. Got most everybody back from last year. So, and then certainly, as you know, I mean, if you got a quarterback, you always got a chance. And we got a great quarterback. He's a veteran guy. This is his fourth year. It's his third year as a starter. So he's very seasoned, and he's a great leader. But we got most everybody back on both sides of the line of scrimmage too. So I think we're stout up front on both sides. We got some really good skill with a lot of experience. We're not having to really depend on any freshmen really. This is a pretty veteran group, but we added some good depth with it as well. And so I mean, we preseason we got a good ranking and all that stuff, but on paper we got a chance to be a good team. But as you know, man, you got to go do it, and everybody's good. We open up with LSU, so that ain't going to be an easy one. So that's a tough one. But we finally get an opener at home. We haven't played at home in an opener since 2019. So excited about that. But it's going to be great, man. But Klubnik, he's a special kid, great foundation in life. He's going to play football for a long time, and he loves it. I mean, he just loves it. I mean, he's one of them guys that just he loves to practice. Like when he becomes a pro, that guy's never missing an OTA ever. Because he would feel like he's missed out on something. Like that's just kind of how he's wired. He's just an all-in guy all the time. It's a lifestyle for him, and just love everything about him. So, we got to go play the games, but hopefully it's a special year for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's a good perspective by him to have too. And I'm from the Louisiana, as I said before, but I went to the other school, so I want you to show the Tigers who the real Tigers are this year.
When was your last year at Tulane?
2007 season. I went to the 08 draft.
Okay, 08 draft. Okay, all right. So 08 is when I became the head coach here. So I'm trying to think. Were you all Bears and Jets?
Yep.
So you might have played. Let's see. Did you play with any Clemson guy? Gaines Adams, was he with you?
Yeah. Gaines came over my rookie year. He got traded right at the end of the year.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, in the offseason, he had a heart issue.
Yeah.
That happened. Yeah.
Aries Curry.
Didn't play with him.
He was the Bears year. So Chancey Stuckey, receiver. Yeah, he might have missed him.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think. So how many years with the Bears?
8.
8 years, and then you finished up with the Jets?
Yeah, so 2008 to 15.
So Spiller? Did you see Spiller or Marcus Gilchrist?
Yeah, both of them. I played, actually, CJ came to the Jets for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Marcus played with him. I think Jenkins is a D lineman. I think he went to Clemson too. Jarvis Jenkins. Yeah, I played some good ball with him too. He's I still talk with him a little bit.
He's a big happy guy.
Yeah.
Love Jarvis. So he's a local kid. So he went to the local high school here.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but got Grady Jarrett up there with the Bears now. And Jordan McFadden. He's an offensive lineman, and then Grady Jarrett's a D tackle for the Bears. And the Jets, they have a D lineman named Peyton Page, who's a rookie for them. He was actually undrafted, but I think he's doing really well in camp. That sounds like he's got a good shot to make it. So we got a lot of guys, man. 7 years in a row, we've had a Super Bowl champ here at Clemson.
Wow, that's
7 years in a row. So when we have pro day, I tell all the scouts, I'm like, look, we won the Super Bowl 7 years in a row. So if you don't have a Clemson guy, Hey, man, I mean, how many
Yeah.
years in a row do we got to win it before y'all say, you know what? I'm just happy with the Clemson guys on my roster somewhere.
Yeah, that's special. That's special.
Yeah, yeah. But, hey, you're a great player, man. Great, tough runner.
No,
Tough.
I appreciate that, coach. And we thank you for your time and appreciate you joining Sports Spectrum.
You got it. I look forward to meeting you sometime in person.
Yes, sir.
All right, take care.
And that was Coach Dabo Swinney from Clemson. I kept Matt here for a second because I really wanted to get your feedback, Matt, on that interview. I just thought he was phenomenal. I think we got to maybe 3 of the 9 questions that we had prepared, but he's so good, right?
Yeah, man. It's you can see why uh coaches of his stature, why they have the longevity or the consistency that they have, and why they stay around a long time in a occupation that has so much turnover. And it's just very, he takes it and he's authentic, puts it
Yes.
out there who he is, and he coaches that way too, and creates an environment which is more important than, trying to, dangle flashy things or trying to recruit someone for the sake of because you're, a good talent. It's more than that. He wants to develop people. And he's got very wise. There's a lot of wisdom in this podcast that he was full of. And even the hard things. It's not all about winning,
Right.
even though you've won a lot. That's a byproduct of following Christ in the right way.
Yes.
And it's not always going to be wins. And people just automatically think like, okay, I follow God, or I give my life to Christ, that everything's going to be all good. I'm going to be a winner, successful. Winning and success looks different in the kingdom of God. And he's shown that. And I can tell you right now, the trophies and the trinkets and all those things couldn't mean anything less to him than the relationships that he's formed with his players and those young men that have become Clemson stars and coaches now too.
Yeah, there's so many lessons from this interview, and I want to share a quick story. So before you jumped on the Zoom, Coach got on just right before you did, and I was talking to him, and I told him, for those watching, they can see it, about this coin that I have here at my desk, and it's a coin. It's an orange coin with the Clemson logo on the one side, the Tiger logo, and on the other side it says "I'm all in." And I got this when I went to Clemson in 2022. My friend Don Munson, who's a broadcaster with Clemson, invited us down and took us around, and we got to see the facility. And I told you off air, Matt, it's a facility of all facilities when you go to Clemson and tour their football facility. It's incredible. And he took us to Coach Swinney's office, and Coach Swinney wasn't there. This was during the season, by the way. This was like October of 2022. And he was probably at practice or something. And so Don goes and he goes, hang on a second. He goes over to like the side of his desk and he goes into this jar and he pulls out this coin that says, "I'm all in" on it. And he gives it to me. He's like, "This is for you." And I said, "Are you supposed to do that? Am I allowed to even take this thing? I don't want to take something from people's, He's like, "No, it's for me. I'll tell him you're good." And I asked him, like, "What are these things?" And then I asked Coach Swinney, because I just talked to him before our interview just now, and I said, "Do you still have these coins?" And he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Tell me about him." He's like, 17 years, been doing it every week. I have him in my office, and every week I just want the team to remember to be all in together as a team. And he gives these coins out to various players throughout the season all year long. And he says, "I've been doing it for 17. I'm going to do it as long as the Lord allows me to." And I thought, that's pretty cool to have this, not only a coin, but I think there's even a hidden meaning in this, Matt. When you say "I'm all in," you heard Dabo's faith. I think he means he's all in for Jesus too. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
absolutely. And that's the important part. Like it's subtle, but it still means what it means. You want players to be all in and bought into the program, but at the same time, if you're following Christ, you can't be lukewarm. We all know what Revelation says when it talks about lukewarmness and God, saying rather you be hot or cold.
Spit you out.
Spit you out his mouth. So
Yeah.
being on the fence and being kind of vague in the gray area about everything is never. Nobody likes friends like that, or I would never want a part-time lover or wife.
Right. Be all in. Yeah.
You want someone that's all in, right? And it's a great way to subtly throw that in there, but also have a double meaning for your program and for your purpose.
Yeah, for your purpose and your faith. So, yeah, great stuff there from Coach Swinney. William Christopher Dabo Swinney. That's his full name. I'm glad he told the story of how he got the name Dabo, which you related to quite a bit, being from the South
So
yourself,
funny.
which was great. Yeah, that was so good. But we're excited. So, just so people know, we taped this and recorded this on August 20th. So the season starts August 30th. He's talking about LSU. That's in 10 days from when we recorded this. And as people hear this, it's literally tomorrow. So it's exciting to think that he gave us this amount of time, just 10 days before he was preparing for a big game against LSU. And if they come out of the boat and beat LSU, a lot of people have Clemson getting ready to play in that playoff again and maybe making a run for a national title. So,
yeah, I told him to show him who the real Tigers are.
Right.
That other team in Louisiana.
That other team. Yeah. I loved his interest in your career too. I think that's fun for me as a fan and as a guy who's been in the business a while but never played, to watch a coach and a player kind of just see that, because there's always crossovers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you played against some of the guys that he coached, and it's fun. It's fun to watch, as a fan. So.
Yeah, you always appreciate good coaching too, and guys who lead in the right way.
Yeah,
because in that amount of time of playing football since I was 7, you've been around good coaches, and you've seen that there are coaches that don't do it the right way, and you have a great appreciation for those who really do it the right way, and that know their purpose within their calling. So, love that he's a football nut. Like he went back to a game that was in like 06 or something, or 04.
Yeah. Did you hear him go through
and he knew the score and went through the schedule, like, It
reminded me of me a little bit. I'm like, all right, I know this stuff, but the coach isn't supposed to know. Because you couldn't do that, right? If I gave you a game, you probably remember it, but you couldn't go through your schedule in 2012 with the Bears and just be like, we lost, we won, we lost. You need a little bit of a reminder, right?
I need a refresher. I can look at pictures and be like, I know what year that is, or what game, or if it's home or away. I could somewhat how I can figure that out. But
yes,
the details of scores and moments,
he knows them.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, listen, we appreciate Coach Swinney for saying yes. He's gotten probably a million requests. He's pulled in a ton of different directions. I got to see him at this John Gordon event back in May with him and his sons at a training camp event. And that's where I kind of made the introduction and met him, and then an opportunity for you to connect with him too. And so grateful that he said yes. Grateful that he said yes, right before the season here. And obviously we wish Clemson and Coach Swinney nothing but the best for this upcoming 2025 season. We thank you for tuning in to Sports Spectrum. Make sure you go to our website, sportsspectrum.com, for all of our content. Stay tuned. We got great interviews coming up, tons of content. The Tuesday morning running back every Tuesday, Matt and I will be recapping the weekend, starting with the next interview that you're going to hear here, or a conversation you're going to hear on a Tuesday morning. We're going to have college football kicking off, and we'll certainly recap that and then preview week 1 of the NFL on the next edition of the Sports Spectrum podcast. Football's here, Matt Forte.
That's right. And as it kicks off, I've got one thing to say. Roll wave.
You had to give a shout out to Tulane. Roll wave, baby.
That's right.
Wave. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time here on the show. Hey, thanks for watching Sports Spectrum here on YouTube. You can click our next video, or you can check out our website, sportsspectrum.com.